Alright, what's happening, y'all? It's your boy Rico from Street Scores, bringing y'all a full breakdown of the 2020 Redskins schedule. A full matchup analysis against each team that we go against in 2020. Break down weaknesses and strengths. And at the end, I'm going to give a prediction of what I think the Redskins will go. Somewhat of like a floor, a ceiling, and then what I think, somewhere in the middle, what I think will actually end up happening realistically. And like I said, I don't want to just read y'all like who we're playing, when we're playing them. I want to actually break down what some of those teams' weaknesses are and their strengths, what we can try to expose, take advantage of, and what we need to worry about when we play these guys. What are our chances of beating them? All of that type of stuff for each game. So we're about to go ahead and do it. And I'm not going to lie, I was supposed to come out with this video a while ago, but I don't know what happened. But at some point I ended up passing out on my bed, and then I woke up and it was like 8 to 10 hours later. I don't even know when I fell asleep. So I'm finally getting it to y'all. I wasn't even gonna lie about it. All I know is I passed out of nowhere, and then now I'm here. So let's get it. Alright, so week 1, we start Sunday, September 13th, 1 p.m. on Fox, hosting the Philadelphia Eagles, the NFC champions from last season. And if you watched my video that I came out with before this one, you already know a lot of what I'm about to say. This is going to be like a quick summary version of that. I'm not about to spend 20 minutes on each team like I did in that video. I just wanted to deep dive into that video since it was the debut of the season, and talked a little bit about how Alex Smith can have his little ceremonial, like take one knee the first snap of the season and that be his final snap of his career rather than it being when he broke his leg. Just something so the crowd can applaud him and everything, because it'll be in Landover, so it'll be at a home game so the home crowd can cheer him on and shout him out and everything as he takes his final snap of his NFL career. Just a farewell ceremony type of thing. It'll be dope if we were to choose to do it then. It just needs to be coordinated with the other team. The Eagles need to like come out and say that they fully agree to not attack Alex Smith on that first snap. Only if they do that and like publicly say that they won't, will it make sense for Alex Smith to go out there and take that first snap, because you don't want to risk him getting hurt again. So, but specifically Redskins versus Eagles wise, this is going to be very interesting because it's going to be, first of all, against, like I said, the NFC East champions from last season, and they won a division while their team was depleted. I mean, they were more injury prone than we were, as much as we were complaining about it. They had no secondary. Quite a few of the receivers were injured. Jason Kelsey was hurt all year, fighting through 3 injuries. I mean, I even forgot Deshaun Jackson was back on the Eagles, how much he was hurt. And Alshon Jeffrey didn't even play in that many games also. But one guy that did make it through the entire season and the playoffs was actually Carson Wentz, which was surprising, but you can see how much the Eagles believe in his health when they took Jalen Hurts in his most recent draft. But that's going to be a tough test because they won the NFC East while that injured. This is week 1 when they're going to be presumably at their healthiest, the healthiest they'll be all season. And that's how it goes for all NFL teams. They're usually at their healthiest week 1, but it's especially true for the Eagles. I mean, they didn't have anybody in their secondary by the playoffs last season. This time, after only losing Ronald Darby, who didn't really matter to them, he hasn't really mattered for them since 2017. They added Darius Slay and Nikel Robbie-Coleman to their secondary. So their secondary is going to be definitely better since the last time we played them. Throughout history, the Redskins lead the series against the Eagles 86, 79, and 5. 86 wins, 79 losses, 5 ties with the Eagles. But the Eagles are on a win streak right now. The Eagles have won the last 6 games in a row. So if the Redskins don't get it together, the Eagles are going to end up having the lead in this series. But just to summarize pretty quickly, I can't wait to see what this Redskins team looks like week 1. You got to remember, last season we played them the first game and we were up 20-7 at halftime and ended up losing that game 37-27. I mean, it just went down the drain. It was a big foreshadow for the season that came, 3-13 season. I mean, we started off so high and mighty, 20-7 at halftime in the first game of the season. Then we blew the lead. That was the game Jay Gruden benched AD for no reason also, but we blew the game, we blew the lead. And then that was pretty much just to show what was to come of that season. I mean, gladly it got us Chase Young and a few other great players, but boy, that season was sad. And it all started with that second half meltdown against the Eagles week 1. But I'm excited to see what the Redskins look like week 1. I mean, this linebacker core, anybody can end up making the roster and starting. The receiving core, I'm excited to see if anybody can step up to go along with Terry McLaurin. Steven Sims showed a little something those last couple of games. He looked uncoverable late last season once he started to really get in his bag. I'm expecting big things out of Kelvin Harmon and Antonio Gandy-Golden. And then hopefully we'll see how far ahead Dwayne Haskins is in his progress. Hopefully we get some type of training camp and mini camps and stuff with this coronavirus and everything going on, because we're going to need it as much as possible with a new head coach, new offensive coordinator, new defensive coordinator, a lot of new position group coaches, and technically a still rookie quarterback, in my opinion. He only started like a handful of games, and even then they didn't properly prepare him, especially throughout the offseason and stuff. So I'm excited to see how much progress Dwayne Haskins has made, not just physically, but mentally, all of the things that really matter when it comes to playing quarterback. I'm excited to see who's healthy. Like if the running back group, Darius Geis and Bryce Love, are healthy, those two at their best and at their healthiest should be the best running back duo in the NFL. And then you still have Adrian Peterson, J.D. McKissick, Antonio Gibson, who I'm expecting a lot out of, and Peyton Barber. We'll see. We got to see who even makes the roster, let alone starts and gets most of the snaps. Then the offensive line, we got to see if Sadiq Charles will be ready by week 1 to start at left tackle. He has Pro Bowl level talent. I'm expecting big things out of him eventually, but I'm not sure if he'll be ready by week 1 to go against this Eagles defensive line, which is one of their biggest strengths. Which takes me to some of the keys of the game. I mean, we have to stop Zach Ertz. I mean, he's been killing us on third downs. I mean, we'll have a nice defensive stop, first and second down, and then we'll be ready to kill the drive on third and long, and then Zach Ertz picks up a first down, and then later on down the line, like 6 or 7 plays later, they end up putting points up on the board. And even though that Zach Ertz play didn't necessarily get them the points, that was a strong catalyst for them to end up earning points. So we have to shut down Zach Ertz, especially on third downs, man. Lord have mercy. And then we have to see how good this offensive line is and how much they'll be ready to block against Fletcher Cox and the guys, because their deep rotation of defensive line with the edge rushers and Fletcher Cox is pretty deadly. And we got to see if Sadiq Charles maybe on the left, maybe at left tackle, Wes Martin at left guard, still unproven. Then I like Chase Roulier. I love Brandon Sheriff when healthy. And then it's going to be either Morgan Moses or Cornelius Lucas at right tackle. So that's kind of a makeshift offensive line. I feel like that offensive line can be really good as long as everybody is fully healthy and reach their potential. But those are a few ifs out there. Also, we got to see, like I said, we got to see how far Dwayne Haskins is in his advancement and learning the quarterback position, because those receivers can be as great as they want, but if the offensive line can't block for Haskins, and if Haskins can't get them the ball, it doesn't matter. And even though their secondary is new and improved, I doubt Darius Slay can actually cover Terry McLaurin consistently. We've already seen that from when Darius Slay was still in the Lions, so I'm not really worried about that secondary. The only thing is, will our offensive line be able to block against their tough defensive line? Because their linebackers are, iffy. So Scott Turner can definitely attack that. And then also we have to cover Zach Ertz. And our secondary has a lot of improving players in it. Ronald Darby, we have to see if he's healthy. Because if he is, he's very talented, especially within 20 yards of the line of scrimmage. Fabian Moreau, its potential and health for him. Jimmy Moreland, we have to see if he reaches his potential. So there's a lot of mystery in the DB group for us. I mean, Sean Davis at free safety, is he going to start? And if he does, is he actually going to be as great as we hope he can be with that freakish athleticism? I mean, I feel like if anybody can bring it out of him, it's Jack Del Rio and Ron Rivera, especially a combination of the two putting their minds together to make things work on the defensive side. But hopefully this dominant, consistent pass rush with Chase Young, Montez Sweat, and the interior guys is good enough to mask some of the weaknesses we have in the secondary. And I feel like we may actually be able to surprise people and bring this win in, because last season when we were up 20-7 on them, they've gotten better through the draft and free agency, but we've drastically have gotten better. I mean, between the talent, adding Chase Young, the best player in the draft, entire new coaching staff. I mean, a huge upgrade, huge turnaround, front office, coaching staff, all of that. Then also the talent on the roster. If we could go up 20-7 on them last season, I'm expecting us to be even better against them this season, but we'll have to see. I just really hope that healthy Deshaun Jackson and Alshon Jeffrey don't have too much of a great game against us. Hopefully Chase Young, Montez Sweat, Matt Ioannidis, Jonathan Allen, Daron Payne can mitigate a lot of that potency that Eagles offense has when they're fully healthy. But the big difference for me is that this front seven will actually be able to bring Carson Wentz down, not just pressure him. We've gotten a lot of pressures on Carson Wentz when we've played against the Eagles, but now with the freakish athleticism of Chase Young and Montez Sweat and Matt Ioannidis, Daron Payne, and Jonathan Allen moving to a one-gap system rather than two-gap, I'm expecting big things out of them and for them to consistently be in his grill, breathing on his neck, and then to actually bring him down. Not allow him to escape the pocket and throw a bomb on us like he's done a lot recently. And I feel like the Redskins actually have a pretty decent chance of winning this game, surprising a lot of people week 1. But moving on, then the Redskins play Sunday, September 20th at 4 p.m. on Fox at Arizona to play the Cardinals. And history-wise, it looks great for the Redskins. We have 76 wins, 46 losses, and 2 ties with them throughout history. And we've won the last 2 times we played them. So we have good history against them, but they're far new and improved. I mean, we haven't played them since they've had Kyler Murray. Now they have D-Hop. The offensive line is better than when it was then because the last time we played them back in that Alex Smith season in 2018 when we were 6-3 before Alex Smith got hurt, we whooped them. It was 24-6. They had one of the worst offensive lines in the league. So now their offensive line is improved, their receiving core is improved, their quarterback play is definitely improved. But the Redskins are actually well built to stop athletic, mobile quarterbacks that are fast and shifty. That's what the freakish athleticism of Montez Sweat and Chase Young bring to the table. That's something most teams in the league don't have. Guys that big with that much speed. So, if any team is a weakness to fast quarterbacks, it's gonna be us. So, Kyler Murray is great, and I'm expecting big things out of his NFL career, but if there's a defense out there that's able to stop him, and I'll talk about Lamar Jackson later and stuff like that, it's our defense. This entire defense is built on speed and athleticism and raw talent that just needs to be tapped into. Also, they still have a pretty good defense, so I'm pretty sure the Redskins will walk into this game as the underdog unless they beat the Eagles, especially if they beat the Eagles convincingly. Otherwise, they're going to walk into this game underdogs. And I feel like the Redskins definitely have a chance to pull this game off, especially if the Redskins offense is booming by then. If the Redskins offense is able to catch up to how great the defense should be, then the Redskins should actually be a really deadly team. Because I'm expecting our defense to be excellent day 1. We've always had high expectations for our defenses in previous years with all of the talent we've had, but we've never had the coaching staff to go with it. Now it's even more talent than previous years, being led by Chase Young, and we have superior coaching. I mean, Jack Del Rio is literally one of the best defensive coordinators to ever do it, and it only helps that we also have Ron Rivera aboard. So the defense should be great off rip, right out the gate, but hopefully the offense doesn't need too much time to catch up to the defense, or at least to be somewhat good. I mean, one thing that will really help this offense is the fact that we may finally have dual threat tight ends. I believe in Thaddeus Moss a lot to be a really good dual threat tight end. At the very least, a chain mover red zone threat that can block very well. He may not be Travis Kelce out here juking DBs out their socks to get open, but for what we need him to do, which is have sure hands, great feet to barely tiptoe in bounds, to make contested catches. I mean, he can do all of that. So as a red zone threat, as a chain mover on third down, and as a consistent, dependable blocker, Thaddeus Moss is both of those. So we'll finally have a dual threat tight end in him. I'm very interested in seeing what Hell Hinges' potential is off of what we saw those last 2 games from last season. Logan Thomas is freakishly athletic, and he killed us when he played for the Lions last season, so I'm excited about what he'll bring. So hopefully Dwayne Haskins has something that previous Redskins quarterbacks haven't had for the Redskins, and that's dual threat tight ends, which leaves the offense wide open. I mean, defenses have to stay on their toes, because when Jordan Reed was in the game of Vernon Davis, we were more than likely throwing it, because if we didn't, they were going to get moved out the way and the running play was going to get stopped immediately anyway. So we had to throw it when they were in the game. And then back then, when Jeremy Sprinkle wasn't forced into the starting lineup due to injuries, when he was in the game, we were clearly running the ball. So defenses would stack the box and prepare accordingly. But with dual threat tight ends, defenses will be on their toes. And Scott Turner, who loves to run a lot of different plays out of the same formations, to confuse defenses. That paired with dual threat tight ends is going to make our offense very secretive, mysterious, ambiguous, and it should be potent just off of that, as long as Dwayne Haskins can hold his side of the bargain. And I'm expecting explosiveness out of Antonio Gibson. And if Darius Geis and Bryce Love are healthy, I'm expecting explosiveness out of them too. Big plays. And you already know people can't cover Terry McLaurin and Steven Sims. This offense has a lot of potential. I just wonder how long it's going to take Scott Turner to actually implement his offense, for everybody to gain chemistry and get used to it and be able to run it smoothly in the way that he wants to. And for him to learn his play calling, because you can have a great offense in place, but if he's not in the rhythm of play calling correctly and, moving his chess pieces accordingly to whatever the deadliest strategy should be, then none of it's going to matter. So not just the players, but we got to see if Scott Turner is ready by week 2 to do what he has to do. But I wouldn't be surprised if we won that game also. And then you have week 3, Sunday, September 27th at 1 p.m., the Cleveland Browns in Cleveland. So we start the season off with 1 home game, then we immediately go on the road for 2 games straight. Historically, the Cleveland Browns have the lead over the Redskins. They've won 33 games, lost 12, and have tied once. We barely played them guys, really. But at least the Redskins have won the last 3 matchups, and 4 of the last 5, and 7 of the last 9. So hopefully we have the Cleveland Browns number, but they're a very talented team. They underperformed last season, and with them consistently getting draft steals these last couple of drafts, they should not be getting the players when they're getting them in these drafts. I'm expecting their team to be really good. They're going to get Myles Garrett back from indefinite suspension for that whole fight situation. And their defense should be locked and loaded with a lot of great talent, a lot of great young talent. And then I'm expecting Baker Mayfield to be better as he advances through his career. And if they make Odell Beckham happy, he should be electric. Jarvis Landry should still be able to do his thing. David Njoku, if healthy, should be a really good, explosive tight end. Great receiving option. Nick Chubb, my Georgia boy, should be able to carry the team on his back alone. And then they address their offensive line issues also in the draft. They have their new head coach, Steven Stefanski. Just like us, they may be susceptible to a slow start in the season just off of coaching changes, quite a bit of personnel changes. They don't have as big as a roster change as we do, but they're also susceptible to a slow start in this 2020 season just like us. Maybe not as much as us, but if we somehow come out guns blazing in the 2020 season, we may be able to catch them not at their best and take advantage of it. But I'm pretty sure, unless we start the season 2-0, we're going to be big underdogs in this game. But I can definitely see quite a bit of scenarios where we actually ended up pulling this off. Our team is ridiculously talented, and our coaching staff is very well experienced, smart, have experienced winning. They know what winning feels like, looks like. They know what decisions they need to make to get there, how to run their team and everything like that. So this Redskins team should have a huge turnaround in 2020. But at the same time, Ron Rivera has clearly stated several times that 2020 will basically be a big audition, a big tryout. They're just going to be trying stuff, getting frisky, getting creative, all kinds of stuff. Just, okay, you start this game, somebody else start next game. And not because this player did bad, but we just want to see what this player can do. All around the team, different position groups, everything. So it's going to be a lot of trial and error. So expect us to possibly win some games we shouldn't and lose some games that we shouldn't, just off of the fact that we're experimenting and basically using 2020 as a long-term trial run to see how we want the Redskins to look 2021 and beyond. Even if something works, they're going to try something different just to see if that works better. If it doesn't work, then they'll know, okay, this works and we'll just implement this in 2021 and beyond. But they're going to try everything throughout the season. So be prepared for all kinds of looks, all kinds of starting lineups, all kinds of roster changes, inconsistencies in play calling, in personnel groupings, all of that type of stuff. It's going to be a very experimental year. So we may be able to beat teams like the Cleveland Browns and the Eagles, but then we may lose to the Bengals at home and stuff like that. You know what I'm saying? Just be prepared for a very roller coaster like season. But moving on. Next you have the Ravens, one of our top 3 most difficult games of the season, easily. We play them week 4, Sunday, October 4th at 1 p.m. It's going to be hosted by CBS, and it's going to be in Landover, but it's not that far from Baltimore. So whenever we play the Ravens, it doesn't really matter whose home it's in exactly. You don't have to drive far to go to the other team's stadium. And we have a lot of Redskins fans in Baltimore. It's a lot of Baltimore fans in the DMV. So don't expect the Redskins to just have a home crowd atmosphere in there, especially after these last few seasons where a lot of fans have kind of given up on the team, and some of them even jumped ship to the Ravens. So we'll see how this goes. Hopefully it doesn't feel like an away game, but I doubt it's going to feel like a home game. And the Ravens are crazy, man. Their defense is great. Their offense got even better after the draft. Lamar Jackson is only going to get better further into his career. So whatever we saw last season, he should literally be that or better. So be prepared for that. And he loves his tight ends, and that's been one of the biggest weaknesses against Redskins defenses the past few years. So hopefully the Redskins' new and improved defense with Jack Del Rio and Rivera are able to stop that. But that's one of our biggest weaknesses, and that's one of their biggest strengths. And then their run game is going to be crazy. Lamar Jackson, Mark Ingram, Mr. Big Trust, and J.K. Dobbins from Ohio State added into that running back group. And Patrick Queen from LSU added to that already really good defense. They are a complete team with great chemistry. I don't know what goes down in the playoffs for them to fold like that. Receivers just suddenly can't catch. Lamar Jackson is just slightly less accurate than he is during the regular season. I don't know what happens when it's cold, but they just don't look the same. But October 4th, it should be plenty warm, and they should be at their best, at their healthiest. So don't expect the Redskins to look very good in this game. Now, like I said earlier, the way our defense is set up, if there is a defense that's built to stop Lamar Jackson's speed and agility, it is this defense. So expect Lamar Jackson to have one of the, I guess, least good games of the season. I don't want to say worst. I'm going to say one of his least Michael Vick-ish looking games of the season. Because Montez Sweat and Chase Young's athleticism alone is something he shouldn't have to face throughout the entire rest of the regular season. So the Redskins defense should be one of his toughest opponents of the season. But I'm still expecting their offense to be too potent. And unless our offense is locked and loaded by week 4, which I kind of doubt, their defense should be pretty suffocating. But you never know. Dwayne Haskins may be as great as I believe he'll be. He'll just fast forward in his progress. Scott Turner will already have some magical chemistry and flow to his play calling and personnel groups and all of that type of stuff and formations. You never know. Maybe this offense is just coming out the gate by week 4 already locked and loaded. But I doubt it. And I'm not expecting the Redskins to win this game, but you never know. We may make it way closer than a lot of people think, especially with how great I'm expecting this defense to be and how fast it will be. I don't think it's going to be one of those games where Lamar Jackson is just having several highlights embarrassing people. If there's any team built to stop that, it's this team's defense. Moving on, and I don't know why, but the Redskins barely play the Ravens. I mean, I know the Ravens haven't existed for long, but I mean, the series is tied 3-3. That's literally it. And the Redskins have won the last 2 meetings in a row, but this is an entirely different looking Ravens team. The same can be said for the Redskins, but this Ravens team is different now, especially offensively. Week 5, Sunday, October 11th at 1 p.m., hosted by Fox. We play the Rams in Landover. So that's Sean McVay and Kevin O'Connell returning to DC to play their former team, which is going to be really interesting. That's definitely something I can't wait to live stream for y'all to pull up to the stream and we all talk about it. Hopefully the Redskins can show them a little something. Hopefully we can shut down all that creativity that Sean McVay and Kevin O'Connell are so highly regarded for. This defense should have a good chance of locking a lot of that down, but we'll see. A big X factor throughout this entire offseason is going to be how ready this secondary is for greatness. Our front 7 should be great, especially that front 4. Should be one of the best in the league, if not the best. But we just got to see how this secondary does. But at least for us, the Rams' wide receiving core isn't one of the best in the league. I mean, Cooper Kupp is pretty deadly, but Brandon Cooks is gone. They drafted Van Jefferson, so we're going to have to deal with that. But at least their receiving core isn't just out here killing people. And they don't have Todd Gurley anymore, so hopefully their running back group isn't super potent anymore either. This may be the weakest Rams team we've seen in recent years, and hopefully the Redskins can take advantage of that. They should still be pretty good off of just the talent and the great coaching of Sean McVay, and then they added Kevin O'Connell to add even more intelligence in the offense, but we'll see how that goes. I mean, it's going to be Aaron Donald on defense, but other than that, there's no huge names on that defense that you're just really worried about. History-wise, the Redskins have a big lead on the Rams in the series, like double. I mean, the Redskins have 26 wins, the Rams have 13, and they have 1 tie between each other. And the Redskins have won the last 2 games that they've played each other. And then week 6, we have Daniel Jones versus Dwayne Haskins, which is just going to be something that's always going to be there. That's always going to exist. Daniel Jones versus Dwayne Haskins. No matter of fact, Dwayne Haskins versus Daniel Jones. We need to put Dwayne Haskins first because he'll end up being better. But this is week 6, Sunday, October 18th at 1 p.m., hosted by Fox. They'll be playing in New York. And historically, the Giants have had our number, man. They have 103 wins to our 69, and we have 4 ties. And they've won the last 3 games in a row, and 4 of the last 5. And even though I feel like the Giants got better over the offseason, I feel like the Redskins got way better. I mean, they drafted my boy, Andrew Thomas, out of Georgia. But I feel like Chase Young is going to whoop up on him and Montez Sweat. So I feel like that pick didn't necessarily even matter that much, especially when it comes to playing against us. I feel like Andrew Thomas is going to be really good, but I don't think he's going to be stopping Montez Sweat and Chase Young consistently good. And then I don't necessarily believe in Daniel Jones. You never know, he might end up being a good quarterback, but as of right now, I don't think he's that good. I mean, one statistic that should let you know is Daniel Jones was 48.8% accurate on throws that traveled further than 10 yards downfield last year. Only Ryan Fitzpatrick was worse out of all quarterbacks in the league. Meanwhile, Dwayne Haskins started balling those last 2 games. He was 31 for 43, 394 yards, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions, a 72% completion percentage, and a 131 passer rating. Once he actually started to get in the flow of everything, when the offense actually was catered towards his skill set and he actually was the one receiving the reps in practice, and Kevin O'Connell actually molded the offense around Dwayne Haskins to be more like what he dealt with in college. A lot of shotgun, a lot of up-tempo, no huddle. Once the team actually wanted Dwayne Haskins to be successful, he started to look really good last season. I'm expecting him to pick up right where he left off, if not be better. I mean, he's been slimming down in the offseason, so he's going to be even more mobile and faster. So I'm expecting Dwayne Haskins to be the better of the two between him and Daniel Jones. I honestly don't think it's going to be really close, but we'll see. I don't want to just rag on Daniel Jones like that, but I honestly feel like Dwayne Haskins will be better. Sorry to all my Giants fans out there. Now, one thing the Giants definitely have going for them is Saquon Barkley. I mean, we couldn't even try to think about stopping him last time we played, and that's a quarterback's best friend. A great run game. And so if we can't stop Saquon, we can't stop the Giants. I mean, that's like the biggest key to the game. Stop Saquon. If we can't stop Saquon, it's an easy loss for us. Even though I don't think Daniel Jones is that great, he's definitely not terrible. And he's good enough to where if Saquon is doing his thing, he can definitely complement it well enough to get some points up on the board. Now, even though I don't feel like the Giants' defense is that great, even though my boy DeAndre Baker from Georgia is on there, I don't feel like if our wide receiver group is as good as I think they'll be, they will not be able to handle this Redskins wide receiving core. But that's if the wide receiver core reaches its potential. We could just go out there and Terry McLaurin be the only dependable target, even though I highly doubt it because Steven Sims looked really uncoverable those last couple of games. Antonio Gandy Golden isn't just big, he's actually very shifty, and his release off press man coverage is just not fair, especially for somebody that big, and his contested catch ability is ridiculous. And Kelvin Harmon, once it's in his hands, he pretty much doesn't drop it, and he's 6'2", he's a big target. Would just like for him to become faster, but don't necessarily need him to. As long as his route running becomes a little bit more crisp, he should be great. And that's 4 guys right there that they should have to worry about, along with our hopefully good tight ends and Antonio Gibson, who should be utilizing a Christian McCaffrey-like role. They won't know what he's doing. I mean, a sweep, a reverse, a screen. They don't know what's going on. Him in the slot, they won't be able to calculate any of that pre-snap defense-wise. So we should always have their defense on their toes. Anybody we play, we should always have them on their toes. That's going to be one of the deadliest weapons for the Redskins' offensive arsenal. And I feel like the Redskins definitely have a good chance of winning this game. Not guaranteeing it, because like I said, if we can't stop Saquon, we can't stop the Giants. But the Redskins have a good chance of winning this game, honestly. Especially in Landover. I mean, we almost won that game by accident when Case Keenum came into the game last year and Saquon could do whatever he wanted. And we still almost ended up winning that game. Thank goodness we didn't, because that's how we ended up winning the Chase Young sweepstakes. And then we would have ended up with Andrew Thomas. That's my boy, but you know what I'm saying? Chase Young, different. Moving on, Week 7, Sunday, October 25th at 1 p.m. hosted by Fox. We play the Cowboys in Landover. And that team is just so talented. I don't know how they underperformed so horribly last season. A lot of people blame Jason Garrett, but I refuse to believe it's all on his shoulders. They brought in Mike McCarthy, but he's not a head coach I'm scared of, so they could quite possibly be the same thing again. All of that talent, but underperforming. I mean, they got CeeDee Lamb, they have Amari Cooper, Michael Gallup. Great receiving core. I mean, they have 2 number 1 receivers and a number 2 receiver, but if Dak isn't able to get them the ball, whether it be because of Dak's inaccuracy or the Redskins' diddly pass rush that I'm expecting us to have, this shouldn't be as much of a wash as a lot of people around the league are going to think it's going to be. I mean, we're going to walk into this game major underdogs. The Dallas Cowboys will definitely be one of our hardest opponents throughout the season. And even at home, we're definitely going to be huge underdogs going against them. But I feel like the Redskins match up well against them and can expose a lot of their weaknesses. I mean, they replaced Travis Frederick with Tyler Biadasz, but he's not as good as Travis Frederick. At least I'm not expecting him to be, so that could be a pretty big weakness. And no matter how great the offensive line is, I feel like with the Redskins probably having the best front 4 in the league, I'm expecting them to still be able to dominate the Cowboys in the trenches. And that's their biggest strength. So if we can beat their biggest strength with our biggest strength, that should help us mask up a lot of the matchups that they have favorable over us. Like I said, with their receiving core against this secondary, on paper, it doesn't look too good for us. Their defensive line against our offensive line, with how improving our guys are, versus their super proven guys, but do they still have it in the tank with Aldon Smith and Gerald McCoy and all of those guys? I mean, their defensive line is literally a group of, do they still have it? I mean, at their heyday and their prime, they were like some of the greatest guys doing it in the league, but do they still have it in them? Especially like Aldon Smith, who was literally on pace to be like the best pass rusher ever, but then you already know what happened with all of that. You can't forget that they still have Dontari Poe, and then they lost Byron Jones, but then they drafted Trevon Diggs, and they added Clinton Dix, and even though he didn't work out for us, he looked pretty good again for the Bears last season. So I'm expecting them to have a lot of talent as always. We just have to see if they're going to be able to actually use it correctly, and if they're actually going to be able to get wins. They just seem too talented not to win a lot of games this season though, but we'll see. Historically, just like the Giants, the Cowboys have our number. They have 73 wins, we have 45, and we have 2 ties. And they've beaten us 3 times in a row. And they've beaten us 7 of the last 8 times we played them. 8 out of the last 11 times we played them. I mean, it's been dark. And we're going to walk into this game huge underdogs. Huge underdogs. Even with it being in Landover. But that Cowboys team is very talented, and there's a lot of people who are really high on Mike McCarthy, so I'm expecting this to be one of our biggest underdog games, like Las Vegas betting wise. And there's definitely opportunities for us to end up surprising people and winning this game. Because like I said, their biggest strength, their offensive line, may not be even good enough to be our biggest strength. And hopefully that's enough to make up for some of the things that Dallas is better than us at matchup wise. Like receivers versus our secondary. Maybe even their secondary versus our receivers. Maybe their run game. I'm expecting our run game to be very underratedly great. We'll see though. It's a lot of potential in our run game. We just got to see if people are able to reach it. I mean, Adrian Peterson, when in doubt, is going to bring that 1,000 yards a season juice with him. But I'm really hoping Darius Geis and Bryce Love are healthy enough to go out there with Antonio Gibson and just have the most diddly 3-headed monster running back group the NFL has ever seen. And then we go on a bye week. So we have a week 8 bye week. That's pretty good. Almost halfway through. Way better than those week 4 ones we used to get. Thank goodness. So the league loves us 2 years in a row. We're finally not getting hated on. Not too late, not too early. Week 8 bye week is just fine. Almost a halfway point for us to review what we've done, fix what we need to fix, and go ahead and go into that final half of the season. A little over half, but you know what I'm saying. But I'm very glad that we have a week 8 bye week. That's definitely something notable to just talk about separately. Thank you, NFL. Please keep doing that. Week 8, week 9, please. And then week 9, Sunday, November 8th at 1 p.m. hosted by Fox, we play the Giants again. And this time it's in Landover, since the last time we played them it was in New York, of course. And I've already gone over the matchups and everything. Hopefully by week 9, everybody's going to be in the full swing of things, especially after a bye week, since we'll have basically 2 weeks to prepare for them. And it's going to be at home. This is easily when we'll have the best chance to beat them. We're definitely more likely to beat them this week than when we'll play them in week 6, because it'll be further into the season. A lot of our problems will come from just lack of chemistry and experience. So by week 9, everybody should be in the full swing of the season, and we'll have a bye week, so 2 weeks to prepare for them. So I'm expecting us to go out there and get that dub. And then after that, you have week 10. And it's very interesting because that means we play the Giants twice by week 9. That is crazy. I mean, we just getting the Giants out the way. And then after that, week 10, Sunday, November 15th at 1 p.m., hosted by Fox, we play the Detroit Lions in Detroit. And that's a very mysterious team, man. They looked really bad last season overall, but those first 5 weeks, they actually looked like they were going to be a problem. And they have talent. They lost Darius Slay, but they had a really nice draft. I mean, they got Jeffrey Okudah, one of the best corners we've seen come out of college in a while. They got my boy DeAndre Swift, the running back from Georgia, so their run game should finally have a consistent, dominant playmaker for the first time in a long time. Because they drafted Buddy out of Auburn, but he hasn't worked out yet. I'm expecting DeAndre Swift to be great at the NFL level. And they don't have one of the best offensive lines. They don't have one of the best receiving cores, but if another Georgia Bulldog, my boy Matthew Stafford, is able to get it together, then they can have a pretty good offense along with a pretty decent defense. They don't have snacks anymore, I don't believe, so the Redskins should be able to run the ball all over them, and I'm expecting us to be the better team walking in. We may be underdogs because for some reason people just hate the Redskins, but I feel like we're definitely a more talented team, and I also feel like we should be better coached, and I'm expecting us to win this game. Not really much to talk about as far as that team, because other than their draft class with Jeffrey Okudah and DeAndre Swift, they haven't made a lot of big moves this past season, free agency wise or anything. And this is really Matthew Stafford's last chance, so he better go out and ball this season or he's done. They're drafting a quarterback this next draft, or getting one in free agency. But I'm still expecting the Redskins to go out there and perform well. Our pass rush should be way too much. Our run game should be way too much. I'm expecting our receivers, hopefully, to be more than their secondary can handle. I'm expecting us to match up very favorably against them. And historically, the Redskins have pretty much had the Lions' number. We won 31 games to their 14 with no ties. And even though we won the most recent time we played them, which was in 2019, last season, they've won 4 of the last matchups. Like, literally, we won the most recent one and they won the previous 4 straight. But overall, throughout history, we've been the ones that's had the advantage over them. So we'll see how this goes. And then week 11, Sunday, November 22nd at 1 p.m. hosted by CBS, we play the Bengals in Landover, Maryland. That's Chase Young versus Joe Burrow, and I'm excited. My Georgia boy AJ Green, you know what I'm saying? We'll see if he's healthy by then or till then. And they drafted T. Higgins at receivers, and maybe John Ross will be healthy. They declined his 5th-year option, so this is it for him. You better go out there and ball out this year if you want to get paid with your next contract, whether it be with the Bengals or another team, whoever. So their receiving core has talent. It's just whether or not players can stay healthy. And then I love Joe Mixon at running back, but sedated their passing game was he wasn't able to really do anything, and he kept getting hurt. And I feel like 2020, even with Joe Burrow at quarterback, should kind of be the same thing. The defense should be pretty decent, but I'm not expecting big things. I'm not expecting them to be a very diddly opponent. I mean, they went 2-14 and had the first overall pick in the 2020 draft for a reason. And even though they added T. Higgins and Joe Burrow, I don't feel like that's enough to just make them a very diddly team out here at all. And I'm expecting the Redskins to win this game. I mean, I feel like we should have the better defensive line. I feel like we should have the better linebacker group. I feel like we definitely can have the better wide receiver group. I feel like we should have the better running back group when healthy. Quarterback, we'll see. I mean, Dwayne Haskins beat Joe Burrow out back when they were both at Ohio State, but Joe Burrow went to LSU and did his thing and looked like the best college quarterback of all time. So maybe they may have an edge in that, but then offensive line, we should be better if everybody's reaching their potential, like I said earlier. I mean, it's going to be week 11, so I'm expecting Sadiq Charles and Wes Martin to be ready to go by then. And they're very talented, so I'm expecting our offensive line to be definitely better than the Bengals by then. And our coaches are better, so even though Scott Turner is unproven, I'm very excited about his potential. So I'm definitely feeling like this is a dub for the Redskins. And historically, there's really not much history there. I mean, the Bengals have won 5 times, the Redskins have won 4, and there's 1 tie. And the past few times they played each other, the last time, the most recent time, it was a tie in overtime. And the 3 times before that, the Bengals beat us. So historically, it's not looking too good. But, I mean, when you think about it, the last time we played them was 2016. That was a tie. And then the other losses were 2012, 2008, 2004. So those are completely different teams. So history doesn't really give us good insight to how this game will go, but I feel like the Redskins will definitely get this dub. I'd be pretty surprised if they don't. This should be like the easiest game of the schedule between this and the Lions. You don't win those two games, then you might as well just hang up that season. And then week 12, yes sir, Thursday, November 26th, 4:30 p.m., hosted by Fox. Thanksgiving. Thanksgiving is not the same when we're not playing the Cowboys. Of course it's going to be in Dallas. That's just what they do on Thanksgiving. But Thanksgiving is just weird without Redskins football. I hate it. It's so weird. And I'm so glad they scheduled us there. Now we're going to be huge underdogs. Hopefully we don't get embarrassed on national TV for everybody to see during Thanksgiving, especially with my Cowboys fans family over. But I'm just so excited that we're playing the Cowboys on Thanksgiving. I love playing on Thanksgiving. I don't care how bad we are and how good the Cowboys are. Redskins football on Thanksgiving just makes sense. But like I said earlier, when I was breaking down the Redskins versus the Cowboys earlier, we actually match up pretty favorably against them. And I wouldn't be surprised if we end up winning this game. Most of the football world would be, like 99%. But you never know, man. Between us having unlimited potential and finally a great coaching staff and front office, which we haven't had in forever, and along with the Cowboys consistently underperforming, especially as the season progresses, we might be able to sneak this win out. Not saying it's very likely at all. Not saying it's even likely, but don't sleep on those Redskins now. And now week 13, Sunday, December 6th at 1 p.m. hosted by Fox, we play the Pittsburgh Steelers in Pittsburgh. And this is a brutal stretch. I mean, it's at the Cowboys, at the Steelers, at the 49ers. If we come out of there with one win, we'll surprise a lot of people. Maybe not me, because I see the vision that this team has. I see the potential, but at Dallas, at Pittsburgh, at San Francisco, we're going to talk about San Francisco after we're done talking about the Steelers, but that's a brutal stretch, man. That is hideous. And then after that, we come back and play the Seahawks at home. Boy, oh boy, they hated on us with that stretch, but it's cool though. But back to the Steelers. Historically, we actually have the Steelers number, man. We have 42 wins to their 33 with 3 ties. That surprised me, especially since the Steelers have won the last 6 games in a row. We haven't beaten the Steelers since 1991. That is pitiful. So part of the history that actually matters, the Steelers have had our number. We've just beaten them more times overall throughout history. I mean, this is dating all the way back to the 1930s, so you can tell some of that doesn't matter. I mean, it's the Boston Redskins versus the Pittsburgh Pirates. So a lot of that history does not matter when it comes to this. But at least we can say we've beaten them more times than they've beaten us over time. Just if you want to talk trash to your Pittsburgh fans. Just to have something to say. But the past few times we've played them, I mean, it's just been embarrassing. I mean, 38-16, I'll never forget that game. 12-27, that was in 2012. I'll never forget that game. That was ugly. I mean, it's just been dark. But the Steelers are down bad lately. Ben Roethlisberger is on his last leg. He threatened retiring like 2-3 seasons ago. I'm surprised he hasn't yet. And then their backup quarterback situation is pretty dark with Mason Rudolph. I thought they were going to be the team that ended up getting Jalen Hurts, but they didn't. And then they don't have Le'Veon Bell anymore. They have a nice duo, but James Conner can't stay healthy. We'll see if he's able to stay healthy, though. The offensive line should still be really good. Their defense is getting better and better with these drafts that they've had. It's not going to be that Troy Polamalu defense that everybody knows, but it should definitely be better than it's been the past few years, these few recent years. And I'm definitely expecting the Redskins to walk into this game underdogs, unless we've just gotten some really significant big wins previously in the season. But I'm expecting the Redskins to walk into this game underdogs. But don't be surprised if we end up winning this game. I mean, this matchup is nowhere near as difficult as the Cowboys, the 49ers, the Ravens, or the Seahawks. It's definitely another tier down. But the Steelers should be a good team. I mean, they're coached up by Mike Tomlin, who somehow found a way to get 8 wins out of that last season team. I mean, with all of those injuries, with them just cycling through quarterbacks, he found a way to claw his team to an 8-8 record. So Mike Tomlin can work miracles. I mean, that's with them losing AB, Le'Veon Bell. I mean, he's made it work. So they're a well-coached team. And I'm not expecting them to be an easy win at all. But I'm just saying that the Redskins, with all of the potential that they have, could end up surprising a lot of teams. And like I said earlier, with all of this potential, but we may have some consistency issues, We may lose to the Giants, but end up beating the Steelers. So we'll see. But again, just like the Cowboys, especially at Dallas, I'm not saying it's very likely, but I'm also not saying it's impossible at all. Not like a lot of people think it is. And then week 14, Sunday, December 13th at 4:25 p.m., hosted by Fox, we play the 49ers in San Francisco. The team that was just in the Super Bowl just added Trent Williams to their team. And I'm pretty sure he's going to be pumped up and ready to play his best game in his career to get revenge on his old team. But I'm expecting Montez Sweat and Chase Young to put a number on that boy. Trent Williams is still Trent Williams, and I expect him to still play at a Pro Bowl level, but Montez Sweat and Chase Young are different. And I'm expecting that to be a really good battle throughout that game. That's definitely going to be the thing I'm watching the most for. I don't really care about Jimmy Garoppolo versus our secondary. I don't really care about Dwayne Haskins versus their secondary. I don't care about our offensive line versus their defensive line, which is probably going to be the toughest test for our offensive line all season. I don't really care about their run game versus our defense or our run game versus their defense. I mean, of course I care about all that stuff, but it all pales in comparison to the Trent Williams versus Montez Sweat and Chase Young and maybe even Ryan Kerrigan in rotation matchup. That's what I'm going to be paying attention to every snap that I can. Every time the 49ers have the ball, my eye is going to be on Trent Williams. And I'll be talking all about it throughout the stream. That's mostly what I'm going to be talking about and breaking down as the game goes. I'm so excited about that matchup. We still got to see if Trent Williams has anything left in the tank. And if he does, we got to see how Chase Young and Montez Sweat match up against one of the best at that position to ever do it. That's a great test for them too, to really see where they stand in this league. But the 49ers are a great team. Easily one of the 3 hardest games we have on our schedule. We have the 5th easiest schedule in the NFL, but that at 49ers, that versus Ravens, and that at the Cowboys will probably be our 3 toughest games of the season by far. And we're gonna be like the biggest underdogs ever walking into that game. Unless the Redskins look like something by week 14, if we're like, say, 7-6, maybe 9-4, something respectable, maybe we won't be huge underdogs, but even then, we can walk into this game 12-0. Sorry, because I forgot to include the bye week into those calculations of those previous hypothetical records, but we can walk into this game 12-0. We may still be underdogs. I mean, it's that ridiculous. The NFL really believes in the 49ers now after they made it to the Super Bowl. And then they traded away DeForest Buckner, but then they brought in Javon Kinlaw, who was the 2nd best defensive lineman in the entire draft class, only behind Derrick Brown, who's a top 10 player. So they got their DeForest Buckner replacement for way cheaper and younger right off the bat. And then they went and got Brandon Ayuk, the wide receiver, with their 2nd first-round pick to help add to their wide receiver core with George Kittle, Deebo Samuel, and the guys. And even though I feel like Brandon Ayuk was definitely a reach in the first round, he's still a pretty good receiver. And historically, the 49ers have won 21 games to the Redskins 11 with 1 tie. And the last time we played them was that super rainy, ugly day where it was 9-0. I mean, that might have been the ugliest game I've watched since I've been old enough to really realize what's going on in football. I mean, that game was terrible. But before that, we beat them 26-24. But that's when they were down bad. I mean, that was 2nd overall pick in the upcoming draft 49ers. This is a completely different team. Kyle Shanahan has these guys out here balling. So I'm expecting them to look more like the 9-0 49ers that we faced last season. And that game may be quite dark for us. But moving on. Week 15, Sunday, December 20th, 1 p.m., hosted by Fox. We play the Seahawks in Landover, so that helps. And I can't wait to see that DK Metcalf versus Terry McLaurin battle. Also, Russell Wilson versus Dwayne Haskins. That's a good battle to watch. Their offensive line is still pretty weak, and I'm expecting our front 4 to dominate them, but Russell Wilson is still that guy. And like I've said repeatedly in this video, if there's a defense in this NFL that's built to stop fast, mobile quarterbacks, it is the Redskins defense. But Lamar Jackson, Kyler Murray, and Russell Wilson are still them dudes. And I don't expect us to completely shut them down, but I do expect us to suppress them more than they're used to being suppressed throughout their seasons. So I'm not expecting Russell Wilson to just straight up embarrass us. They have a pretty good receiving core, especially with DK Metcalf added to it. Their run game was pretty good with their two-headed monster that they had going, but everybody kept getting hurt. They had to bring guys off the street and even ended up bringing back Marshawn Lynch for a little bit. And they may sign him again. But their defense is not the Legion of Boom anymore. It's still pretty good, but it's definitely not the Legion of Boom great. If our offense is as good as I hope it is, we should be able to give them fits. But still, we're definitely going to be underdogs walking to this game. But this is definitely a winnable game for the Redskins if they're as good as I think they should be. And the biggest thing I'm watching this game is what Quinn Dunbar is going to look like. Remember, he went to the Seahawks, traded him away for a 4th round pick, which we ended up using on either Sadiq Charles or Antonio Gandy-Golden. So that's actually really good. That actually really worked out for us. I'm not mad at all. Now looking back at it, trading Quinn Dunbar for a 4th round pick wasn't that bad, especially since we got either Antonio Gandy-Golden or Sadiq Charles with that pick. That was actually a good trade for us, and I'm hoping Quinn Dunbar is on Terry McLaurin that whole game. That's what I'm really hoping for. And I'm hoping Terry McLaurin goes for 200 yards, 3 touchdowns. I like Quinn Dunbar, but a lot of those antics he was doing right before he left was a little weird. And I want Terry McLaurin to go out there and be the greatest wide receiver ever every game, but it's going to be him versus DK Metcalf all throughout the media. Who's the better wide receiver of the 2019 draft class? Along with A.J. Brown, of course, but it's going to be DK Metcalf versus Terry McLaurin head-to-head that game. And especially with Quentin Dunbar covering him, oh yes sir. Terry McLaurin, tear him up. Light him up on the scoreboard. Show Quentin Dunbar what he's missing by not being on the Redskins. I feel like our future honestly is brighter than the Seahawks' future. We may not be better than them this season, but under this new Ron Rivera era, I'm expecting the Redskins to be great these next few years. And make sure y'all go out there and show Quentin Dunbar that he should have stayed. Even though I don't know who I would give up for Quentin Dunbar, Antonio Gandy-Golden or Sadiq Charles. Honestly, I don't know. I'd probably prefer each of them over Quentin Dunbar at this point, honestly. Sadiq Charles has the potential to be a real Pro Bowl left tackle. Antonio Gandy-Golden has the potential to be exactly what this Redskins wide receiver core has needed since Pierre Garçon and Deshaun Jackson. Even with them, they could have used a red zone threat, huge 6'4" guy like Antonio Gandy-Golden. I mean, he can complement any receiving core in this league. And his potential is crazy. But historically, the Redskins have won up the Seahawks. The Redskins have 12 wins, 8 losses, no ties with the Seahawks. And the last time we played them, we beat them, which was back in 2017, that weird Kirk Cousins, Josh Doxson game. Speaking of Josh Doxson, Antonio Gandy-Golden should be what we hoped Josh Doxson would eventually become, which he never did. So I'm expecting big things out of Antonio Gandy-Golden. And if Quinn Dunbar is covering him, or Terry McLaurin, or Steven Sims, I'm expecting it to be a dark day for him. Moving on, Week 16, Sunday, December 27th at 1 p.m., CBS versus the Panthers in Landover. And I'm expecting the Redskins to win this game. I definitely feel like we're the better roster. They took my boy Robbie Anderson, who I wanted from us, but we ended up getting Antonio Gandy-Golden anyway, so I'm really happy about that anyway. But they do have Christian McCaffrey. That's going to be deadly. And they have Teddy Bridgewater at quarterback. And I love Teddy Bridgewater at quarterback. As long as he can stay healthy, he's a pretty good quarterback. And mobile. But again, our defense is built to stop mobile quarterbacks, so we should be able to suppress him more than he's used to being suppressed, which should throw him off his game a little. But their defensive line should be really good, led by Derek Brown. Their secondary should be pretty good. I mean, they're the ones that took Jeremy Chin. And they also drafted Yetur Gross-Matos, who was easily a top 5 edge rusher in their class. So their front four should be really good. I mean, they lost Luke Kuechly to retirement. Early retirement, so their linebacker group should actually be their biggest weakness on defense. But their secondary should be pretty decent, but also I like our matchup against their secondary. And then hopefully our offensive line can hold up against that high potential young defensive line that they have. And then offensively, it's just Christian McCaffrey and Teddy Bridgewater that we really have to worry about. I mean, they have a pretty good receiving core, but the offensive line isn't great. It's pretty good, but it's not great, especially going against our defensive front four. And like I said, we just have to worry about bottling in Christian McCaffrey and Teddy Bridgewater. All of that speed and mobility. I feel like the Redskins can definitely pull this win off. It may be a closer game than a lot of people expect, but I definitely feel like we can win this game. And I'm mad at them for taking Jeremy Chin, so I'm really hoping the Redskins win that game. Just for them being petty to trade up past us to get him. And I'm mad at them for not giving Cam Newton his starting job back. Cam Newton is still a free agent out here. And that's my boy. Westlake's finest, Southwest Atlanta. So you do wrong about my Redskins and about Cam Newton. You definitely got beef with me, so I'm definitely hoping the Redskins get that dub. And historically, the Redskins lead the Panthers in their series, 9 wins to the Panthers 6 wins and no ties. And the Redskins have won the last 2 matchups. Before then, we've just been getting embarrassed when they were beating us, but these past 2 times, we've actually been the victors, and I'm expecting us to win this game also. I don't think it's just going to be a wash, but I do expect us to win this game. We're definitely the more talented team, and I'm assuming we'll be the better coach team. We took Scott Turner from them. We took Ron Rivera from them. They got Matt Rule, but I don't believe in Matt Rule, honestly. But we'll see, though. We'll definitely know a lot about this matchup by the time we reach Week 16 on who's the better team or not. It should be pretty obvious by then. And then Week 17, Sunday, January 3rd at 1 p.m., hosted by Fox, we play the Eagles in Philadelphia. And that game is a toss-up just off of the fact we have to see who's the most injury-prone team by then. Hopefully, we get our injury bug turned around with this new training staff and Kelvin Wilkes as our medical consultant. He's like the Michael Jordan of the medical field, of the physical therapy and sports medicine field. Hopefully that makes a big difference. And hopefully we can be the healthier team. And we may end up getting that dub. We'll see, though. The Eagles should still be a talented team. It's just whether or not their players will be healthy by Week 17. The past few years says that they more than likely won't be, but you never know. They may actually end up having a really good, healthy season. I mean, Carson Wentz survived last season, and nobody expected that, but we'll see. But overall, to review and analyze the schedule as a whole now, first of all, I love the fact that we don't have any primetime games. Mostly because I like streaming at a consistent time on a consistent day. And the fact that we play at 1 p.m. on Sunday, 13 out of the 16 games we play is beautiful. I love it. Thank you, NFL schedule makers. I love it. I know that basically just means we expect y'all to be boring and we need other teams to play while y'all are playing because there's no reason y'all should just headline everything. I know that's what they're trying to say, but at the end of the day, I'm just so happy that I get to have a consistent live stream schedule because y'all know I live stream every game throughout the regular season. And for y'all to know, guaranteed that I'm live streaming at 1 p.m. 13 Sundays out of this season is beautiful. And then the other games, we only play at 4:30, so I'm able to just continue on with my night. I'll be done with Redskins football by 9 p.m. all season. I shouldn't have to watch the Redskins play past 9 p.m. any game this season, which is great. That means we get to get sleep and all of that. And the only real technically primetime game we get when everybody's watching is going to be that 4:30 on Thanksgiving playing against the Cowboys. Other than that, we're going to have plenty of games going while we're going. And oh my God, I just got a random feeling of how much I miss football. I really hope we have football. I really hope this coronavirus thing gets figured out and everything. We're able to have training camp, especially for these young guys and this new coaching staff and front office and everything, new personnel. But I just really miss football and I'm so excited. I'm the type of guy that watches football in the shower when I'm going to sleep. I mean, I'm watching anything. I mean, it can be the Seahawks versus the Browns. I mean, I don't care. It can be a game from 2017. I just love football, so I miss it so much. I'm about to start watching my Georgia games from last season, but I just miss so much Redskins stuff. I just can't help but watch Redskins stuff anytime I can. And I'm so excited just thinking about this schedule and reviewing it. Just the feel of football again, the sound of it, having live streaming with y'all, watching my Redskins, having other games up to the side so I can watch other games because I love all football, not even just the Redskins. I just love the thought of football returning. I really hope it's able to return in full effect though. But yeah, it's very interesting that we have like no primetime games. I mean, no Thursday nights, no Monday nights. I didn't even think that was possible. I thought you had to get one of those. The only Thursday game we have is technically the Thanksgiving game. So we have no 8 p.m. games all season. I love this schedule. This is my favorite schedule. Week 8 by week, perfect. I love it. Also, to note, Ron Rivera said if the Redskins are able to beat the Cowboys on Thanksgiving, Week 12, Thursday, November 26th at 4:30 p.m., he's willing to give the entire team the entire weekend off that coming weekend before they have to play the Pittsburgh Steelers on Sunday, December 6th. So they'll almost get an entire 2 weeks off. But Ron Rivera said y'all are only getting that entire weekend off if y'all beat the Cowboys. So that should be extra motivation for the Redskins to beat the Cowboys in Dallas on Thanksgiving. I love it. But I really like this schedule. I mean, the matchups are already determined years before. But when they come out with the schedules like they did on Thursday, yesterday technically, they have to pick which order, what times, and exactly what days and stuff like that. But it's crazy that with matchups already being predetermined years before that season, that we have these crazy matchups. I mean, Daniel Jones versus Dwayne Haskins is automatic twice a year, but Trent Williams versus Chase Young and Montez Sweat, Trent Williams versus his former team immediately the season afterwards. Same with Quentin Dunbar versus his former team immediately afterwards. Ravens versus Redskins, Battle of the Beltway in the same season. Sean McVay and Kevin O'Connell versus their previous teams immediately. Specifically for Kevin O'Connell, who was just here the previous season. Sean McVay's been gone, but Kevin O'Connell just left. Ron Rivera versus his former team against the Carolina Panthers. I mean, that's crazy how we have so many deeper stories involved in these games all in one season. A lot of these matchups are crazy. Chase Young versus Joe Burrow, the number 2 versus the number 1 pick from the 2020 draft. I mean, there's so many matchups. It's crazy. This is going to be a very interesting season. It's already interesting with a whole new team, whole new coaching staff. I mean, this is the biggest transformation the Redskins have probably ever gone under in the history of the franchise, as far as just one offseason, just one clean sweep. Everything is different. No Josh Norman, no Bruce Allen, which is like the biggest thing. No Jay Gruden, no Greg Minuski. Positional coaches are gone, like Rob Ryan. I mean, it's completely different. Roster changes, quarterbacks, players everywhere. I mean, it is crazy how different this Redskins team is about to look in 2020. This is going to be the biggest change we've ever seen, at least in my lifetime. Because again, I still count Dwayne Haskins as a rookie. This is going to be the first time that he's actually been catered towards by the coaching staff. He's going to get starting snaps during the offseason and in practices. The wide receivers are actually going to have chemistry with him. The offensive coordinator is actually going to build his offense around his skill set. So this is going to be a new look Dwayne Haskins too, even though he was technically here last season. This is his rookie season, in my opinion, in my eyes. So, I mean, this team is going to look completely different. This is going to be one of the most exciting seasons of Redskins history. And I expect this season to be the first step towards consistent Redskins greatness. Not just a flash of greatness like 2012. I'm expecting us to be like the teams like the Packers or the Seahawks or the Patriots that are just consistently really good. They may not be Super Bowl contenders, but you can expect them to be playoff contenders and expect them to be a deadly matchup versus anybody in the league. I'm expecting this season to be our first step towards that. Even if we aren't that this season will help create that consistently great franchise of the future. Like I said, it's going to be a big trial and error season, and we're going to make sacrifices this season. This season may even be one big sacrifice. You never know. We may only win like 4 games, but then we'll end up with a great pick in this 2021 draft next year, and we'll end up drafting another generational talent like a Chase Young. And then after free agency, with us having top 3 cap space in the NFL, I'm expecting 2021 and beyond to be greatness, just pure greatness. But 2020, I'm expecting big things also. And like I said, there's very interesting matchups and storylines in between games throughout this entire season. I can't wait just to have football back. I'm excited. And as far as a record prediction, I'm personally, after really looking at the record and how things match up and the potential that this team has, but I'm going to go realistic with the potential and where we play teams, because some teams like the Ravens, if we played them in Baltimore, even though they're not that far, it's just, it would have been darker. Same thing with the Rams. We played them in Landover. That helps a lot. And then like an easier team like the Lions, will play that away game in Detroit. I still feel like we should get that. And then the Seahawks, who are already good, should be even better. And the Panthers, who should be possibly even better than they were last year. We play them at home, which eases up the matchup a little bit. I feel like we honestly should go 8-8. At first I was saying like 7-9, maybe even 6-10, but with the way this schedule worked out, with some of the harder teams we play at home and then some of the easier teams we play away, I feel like we honestly could go 8-8. I feel like our ceiling is maybe like 10-6. And I feel like our floor is like 6-10, maybe 5-11 if for some reason Dwayne Haskins isn't the quarterback I think he is. But I really feel like this is like an 8-8 schedule. And we could be second in the NFC East, which could end up being a playoff spot, especially with them adding an extra playoff team in each conference. So that's what I'm expecting. But at the same time, don't be surprised if the Redskins end up 6-10, 5-11, and we end up with a really good draft pick. That along with our top 3 cap space we're going to have, and we can just completely turn this team around and turn them into a 12-4 team immediately in 2021. But we'll see though. But that's the end of this video. I appreciate the view. Please like the video if you liked it, if you learned anything. Please subscribe if you haven't. Infinite content coming. Still coming out with my draft review and grade and analysis and all of that. That's coming next. So make sure y'all subscribe for more content like that. I'm about to start getting my film sessions out there also for every player we drafted. And some of the undrafted free agents, maybe all of them. I'm going to do individual film sessions for all of them. Like 20 to 30 minute or even more than that breakdowns of all of the players' weaknesses and strengths. How I project them to be used on defense or offense. And I'm actually going to show it on video for you to see. I'm not just going to be talking. It's not going to just be me here talking to y'all like this with a picture on the TV. It's actually going to be me rewinding and pausing and all of that, showing y'all what they're doing, how they're doing it, what it means, and all that type of stuff. So make sure y'all definitely subscribe for that. And again, I appreciate the support. I'll catch y'all later. I'm out.